Army joined the team that makes a difference. And Mavis Discount Tires, save on tires at mavistire.com. Tomorrow, the game that is always the one that ends the regular season. And it is one that stands alone and always deserves to stand alone because it is a classic, and I always love it. And now it's more competitive again because Army now, they should have won 2 years ago. They didn't. They finally broke the streak last year. They now are back on some more solid ground. They play an easier schedule. The teams are pretty equal now. Navy's a slight choice. Gary Danielson joins us now, and I'd say probably pretty much a toss-up tomorrow, right?
I think so. Mike, thanks for having me. Listen, but, I've had a really blessed career doing a lot of big games, from Michigan, Ohio State to Texas, Oklahoma, and the SEC championship, and even did national championship games. But I would, as long as CBS will be, willing to have me, this would be the last game I'd ever want to give up.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Great game of the year.
Yeah,
really
I love it. I did it for 3 or 4 years, and it's amazing to see it. It's unlike any other game, and it captures so much spirit, and it also tells you that you're in good hands, that the country's in good hands, because there's so many good kids down there playing on the field and in the stands. Yeah. It really is. Where the leaders are coming from in the years to come. They're all in the building.
To me, what it highlights, and it's been a whole big week for us. Brad and I were, started out with a Hall of Fame banquet Tuesday night. We visited West Point and Annapolis, and this game, to me, and I'm so proud of CBS and, Sean McManus and his team and Mike Oresco that were responsible for getting this game the way it is. It just shows, and I think lets the Americans, our viewing audience, see that, this is the 90% of the people in our country that get along great. All week I traveled. I watched people who don't know each other hold doors open for each other, carry bags, and we so many times just talk about the 10% of the people that can't get along with each other. And these guys represent that. You are right. The game has gotten better. These teams compete pretty well now with no matter who they play with. They're unique offenses, and they're getting better football players. And the thing that I love most is when I go to interview these guys, they all know, they watch our games, they watch the SEC or the Big Ten, and they know that one of the reasons they came here is they wanted to play big-time football, and they demand of me to not grade them on a curve. They want to be critiqued just like I'm doing Alabama or Ohio State or USC, and they deserve that. They're proud of the way they play football, and they produce a great product.
They really do. And, it was funny. Navy's different. They're unique. They play a top schedule. They play the top teams, and they're able to compete. Now, they don't compete defensively. That they compete with their brilliant offense, which doesn't turn the ball over. Army couldn't find themselves for a year, and they asked a lot of people. I mean, they went around and asked people. They called and asked me, and they said, what do you think we should do? And I said, I think you should play what I said to them was play a schedule a third. Play a third of the games against teams like the Ivy Leagues or that kind of level teams, and then play the good teams, and then play teams that are right with you. And I think that's the mix, rather than going out and getting your head beat in every week. And it seems like they have found a mix there that they can live with.
I think so. It keeps them a little more healthy. At Army, the demands and the rigors at West Point are tremendous. They don't really have quite as big of football players as Navy do, but tell you in this game, they don't get knocked off the ball at all. Last year they played tremendous defense against a Navy team that came in limping into this game, to be fair. They played the AAC conference championship game and got beat up by Temple in that football game.
Boy, did they ever.
Football team. So they kind of limped into this game. And to be honest, I'm going to talk about it a little bit in our open. Last year's game, even the most ardent Navy supporters, and I don't think he'd be embarrassed to say if I mentioned Roger Staubach, he said, I'm for Navy, but I wouldn't be all upset if Army could end this thing. I kind of feel bad for him. I can tell you this year, that might have been a feel-good story for even Navy fans congratulating their Army brethren
for 1 year, right? For 1 year.
1 year, they don't want They don't want back-to-back.
No.
This will be.
I agree, and I said that before. I said there's a different feel this year because it got to where the streak was almost too overpowering. Now it's back to a football game again.
Yeah, I think Navy fans were saying, "Oh, I kind of feel sorry."
I think you're right. I think everybody was pulling for Army. Nobody was pulling for Navy anymore because everyone was so tired of seeing Navy win. Now we're back to a football game, and let's be honest. I mean, Army. They know the Navy offense. They understand it. They know how to play against it, and they do a good job at defending it. They really do.
Well, what's really, I don't want to get too deep into X's and O's because it's very hard for me to even understand, let alone the layman. But these offenses for Army, Navy, and Air Force are actually migrating a little bit towards the middle of all college football offenses, and the Alabamas and the Ohio States and all of the big-time offenses are kind of moving towards the way Army and Navy run it. They're running more zone reads all across college football.
Yep.
They're they're putting into their offense more like the Auburn offense, where they're running a version of option offense, even though it looks different. And Army and Navy both are running now about 25% of their plays from shotgun, whereas just 3 years ago, they might run 3 or 4 plays a game from shotgun. So the two offenses and the styles are kind of moving together because of the success that Navy and Army has had running the ball against anyone, and including, these new offenses around the country that, Auburn started there under Gus Malzahn. They all kind of starting to look more and more similar.
And the other thing is, you're even seeing read option in the NFL now. I mean, I remember years ago people would say, "You kidding? The linebackers will take that and they will digest it." Now you don't want a steady diet of it. These guys are running a lot of tricky stuff down that they're seeing from colleges.
What's most different in this year's game is Army has decided that they're not a good passing team, so they've decided we're not going to pass at all. If we can run a game and not even throw the ball once, we will do it. We're not going to waste one down in this game trying to loosen up the defense. They don't care. If you want to line up 9 people, they feel they can figure out a way to run the ball. They're used to it against you. And, 3 out of every 4 plays for Army is run by either a quarterback or their fullback. Think about that. I mean, either their quarterback's going to keep it or they're going to give it to their fullback. That's how dynamic this offense is, and it works. So I'm really looking forward to the game. I'm so proud to do it. I've had some iconic memories. Vern and I did. The finish last year was great, but I still remember, Trent Steelman with that. They're driving down there. It's the 4th year for Trent. He banged his way from a freshman all the way. Fumbles an exchange with Larry Dixon going in at the 15-yard line. And then Keenan Reynolds in a day like weather we might have tomorrow, basically freezing. His teeth are chattering on that last
Could have snow tomorrow.
So,
could have snow, yeah.
Could have. We have 3 or 4 inches of snow. And both of these coaches, by the way, Jeff Monken and Kenny Niumatalolo, are both extremely aggressive, competitive guys that know each other. And if you all had the opportunity to watch the Showtime series that followed Navy this year, if you haven't, go download it. It'll make you be proud to be an American, I'll tell you that.
And we're talking with Gary Danielson, and it's funny, the guy who really influences this too is Paul Johnson. He really has an influence on all this. Yeah, he really has,
Both of the head coaches were on Paul's staff. So we're going to have a great game, and it's a game, this is a Saturday that's sitting there, by the way. I'll bet college football is looking at this Saturday, okay? I don't know what would happen. But I do hope. Let's just suppose that the rest of college football says, this is a weekend that we could gobble up. Because remember, the NFL used to play on this Saturday. I think, right?
Well, they play. They're not allowed to play till the last 3. They're allowed to play by law the last 3. The NFL.
Gotcha. Okay, so I just remember this Saturday being a little bit empty, and now
always
they're there.
Is. Yeah.
And you wonder, could this opening weekend could there be a double hitter? So no matter what. Whether they play those games at 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, this game deserves to have its own stage. And as I said,
absolutely does. Yes,
to have it, and I can't wait for the game.
It's a great game. It's a great show. It's wonderful. I'm telling you, it's a great scene, and it's at its best when it's in Philly. Anyway, we're talking with Gary Danielson. All right, you travel in college football circles all the time.
Sure.
What were the ramifications of Alabama over Ohio State?
Well, I have to say I was surprised, but I'm proud of the committee. I think they did the right thing. I thought from game 1 to game 12, they were the most consistent team. The committee complicated things from a year ago. I actually think Commissioner Delaney of the Big Ten made a critical mistake when a year ago, in those weeks leading up, when everyone could see that there's going to be a decision made whether Ohio State or Penn State was going to represent the Big Ten. I thought the commissioner strategically could have lobbied for Penn State by saying something like, listen, we're happy that you're considering Ohio State, but please take our champion first. If you want to include Ohio State against Washington in a matchup, we're happy with that, but you don't pass up our champion. And I think that opened up Pandora's box where it came back and bit the Big Ten this year. So let's all understand, nobody knows which team is better than the other team on any given day, okay? But I thought the more deserving team, considering all the precedent that was laid down last year, that it would have been unfair to Alabama to bypass them, because I thought they had a better season. And I actually think the late-night interview that Nick Saban did with, I think it was Van Pelt late at night, he and Urban were both on, where he said, come on, if Alabama would have lost to, let's say, Texas A&M by 31, you wouldn't even be talking to me. I think that was a money phrase, and I think a lot of the people on the committee were listening to that interview. I
totally agree. That loss to Iowa killed them. There's no question about it. And, they didn't have enough slack to pick it up. And, that's and unfortunately to me anyway, is I just wish they would have split up Clemson and Alabama myself, because I think they're the two best teams myself. I really do. Well, I think they're the two best teams. Yeah, it is interesting. I don't think it would have looked like they were gerrymandering to do that, though. So I agree.
They could, but it is interesting. I got to see Commissioner Sankey at the Hall of Fame banquet. By the way, a unbelievable job by Peyton Manning speaking at the Hall of Fame banquet this year, saluting everybody. Waited until last. Peyton saluted Kirk Gibson, who was enshrined as a football player, and Peyton saluted him for his home run. And
he was a heck of a football player, too. He was,
yeah. He was. He would have been a first-round draft pick. Yep. And, so Kirk was there. It was a great class. But I saw Commissioner Sankey, and I said, the SEC gets to beat their chest now for a month. But I remember back in 2006 when the Big Ten was riding at the top, when the argument was that Michigan and Ohio State deserved two teams, and they were the best two teams. And in that playoff game, Ohio State did not play well against Florida and lost, and then Michigan lost really badly to USC. So for a month here, the SEC gets to pound its chest with two teams in. But if they go 0-2, it could be a tough week playoff game and going into next year for the conference, because people will remember that. And so the pressure will be on the SEC playing these two teams that are going to stress these two defenses, both Georgia and Alabama. No question. Going to be fun, though. It should be two good games, and I think they're in the best place. I mean, it's too bad the Rose Bowl is there the other years, because this is when the game should be played. 5 and 8 on New Year's Day is perfect for these games. Well, before I leave, and this might be our last visit, I just want to thank you. We've been doing this for 8 or 10 years. Oh, easy, yes. Yeah. You brought out the best in me. Well, thank you. What you do, it's tough to stay on top. And you've had a long, great run. You deserve all the respect you've gotten, and it's been fun visiting with you every Friday. Well, it's been, you've been great. I tell you, you've done a great job with that. You've turned that Saturday afternoon into, you're in the right league, and you've done a great job. You really have. And, people probably wondered why you picked college, and you know what? College has grown unbelievably. And you guys did a lot to add to that, because, I'm sure you could have gone to the NFL a long time ago, and you stayed there. And college football as a vehicle and as a property is now clearly a strong second. It has grown more than any other sport on TV in the last 10 years by far. And you know what I think the NFL needs to learn? Okay, college football is not like NBA basketball, where people can follow the stars and root for the stars. Football, the fans want to love their home team, whether it's their state school or it's the Steelers or the Giants. And the players exchange and they move around, But the NFL has to understand that the fans want to go to the games where their dad took them to the game 30 years ago and sit in those seats and remember their team. It's their hometown team. That's the connection that football has.
No question. And I tell you that the amazing thing to me is having done college football years and years ago, its strength nationally and as a TV product now is enormous. I mean, it's absolutely what the Big Ten did with their network stuff, but also this playoff package has been unbelievable. It has grown college football enormously.
It has. When I first got into this, it was really, really a regional sport. But the playoffs, the BCS, has taken a regional sport and make it a national sport, and it's really caught hold. Not sure it's perfect the way it is. It's a little bit of unfairness. You know, who knows if USC isn't the best team or Ohio State. You know, remember in 2014, nobody thought Ohio State could play with Alabama. With the third-string quarterback, Cardell Jones, they won. So nobody knows for sure, but it's pretty darn close, and all the people that are involved are trying to do the right thing. I know all of them, and they're great people.
Well, listen, thanks for coming on every week. Appreciate it. It's been a great segment. I appreciate your help. Thanks very much.
You got it.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary.
And good luck.
Thank you. Gary Danielson, back after this.